All right, I wanted to show all of you something. I don't know if this will interest anyone or not, but a while ago I wrote my first D&D novel. I've mentioned this on previous videos. I've talked about it many, many times. This is the book that I wrote, Forestera's Fate. It's big because when I wrote it, um, when I transferred it from my blog to Microsoft Word, I forget what it is. It was set at 8 by 11, and I tried to make it smaller, like 7 by 9 or 6 by 9, and it was a big problem. So I said, you know what? Let's just leave it at 8 by 11. So here's my big book in loose form, and here's my big book in hardcover. And I actually like this now because it's like this is a D&D story, and if you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, I look at this book now as my big D&D tome. It's like a magical tome for me. So I'm really, really glad that I wrote this, because I have this forever. And I've written a second book as well, book 2. So I've written 2, and now I just need to write 3 more because it's a 5-book series. But it just sits on Amazon and nobody's interested. I do have several. I got several compliments. 10 to 12-year-olds love my book. At least I know of 2 that read it straight through. One guy read it straight through when he was 12. He read it twice in 4 days and thought it was amazing. The 10-year-old thought it was amazing. He read both books. And so did the 12-year-old, who's now 14. The 10-year-old liked the second book even more. The 14-year-old liked the first book more. Go figure. I don't know what the deal is with that. But the reason I wanted to show you this, even though it just sits on Amazon for the most part, almost no one ever buys a copy. I think I have 4 Amazon reviews about this book and none for book 2. Not one person has written a review. Someone is listening to it now. Someone I know is listening to it now, but he says, I have very little time, but I get to it occasionally. He's like on chapter 3. So the other reason I'm really, really glad I did this is I had this woman. Let me show you I found this girl on Facebook. She doesn't even live in this country. And she was looking for work. And she did illustrations. And she showed me an illustration. She showed me, what do they call that? The initial illustration. She goes, I can show you, she showed me her work. And I said, we worked out a price because I didn't have a lot of money. But she was very reasonable. And with me needing about 10 illustrations, she gave me a discount. And I went, well, if you could do that, I guess I'll spend the money because I would really like to have illustrations of the characters in the story, along with a couple other pieces. And after I finished this book, I later added more illustrations. I stayed in touch with her and said, hey, would you be willing to do more? I can afford, a couple $100 more. And she did it. And so now I've got like 20 illustrations in this book, and I'm so happy. The only thing I would like to add now, there's none in the second book. There was no reason to. You already know who the characters are. There are new characters. I could do that, but I didn't need to add illustrations again, because when you include color illustrations in a book, the price goes way up. This book is half the cost to buy on Amazon because there's no illustrations in it. So the soft cover with the color illustrations, let me just show you one of them. Maybe I'm going to show them to you in a second anyway. The soft cover goes for over $40. On the second book is like 20 something. The hardcover is really expensive because, and again, I didn't like the price, but I wanted a high quality image. So I chose on the hardcover to use a higher quality paper to get a higher res image. It made the price ridiculous. The regular price on Amazon is something like $89 for this book. It's really nuts. But Amazon, because nobody buys it, has lowered it to like 60 something, which is a little better, you know. But I'm glad because I have these beautiful illustrations, and I want to show you these illustrations. I have shown them in other videos, but I want to show you the contrast between the high-res paper. This is, well, they're both white paper for illustrations. This one is cream-colored paper because there's no reason, there were no illustrations. I just went with cream. It's just nicer, I think, for reading purposes. But this is white, and there's another odd thing I did with my book, which you'll see when I show you these illustrations. You'll see what I did. And I don't know if that has anything to do with it not selling. I think the reason it's not selling is because I have no publisher. My form of advertising is sharing it on Facebook. I shared it on D&D sites. That didn't go well. I thought it would. I don't know. I mean, I did get some nice comments like, hey, this is really cool. I really like the story. I got a lot of that, but it didn't amount to anything. But I want to show you these illustrations because I think they're very cool. I'm going to turn around my camera. I just want to see if there's something else I want to do here. Let me flip this around now. So side by side, there seems to be a little bit different texture of the color here. I'm not sure why, but this is a later printing. That might be why, and I just used a different tone. As you can see, this is dark. This is the color it was supposed to be. This is more red. I like the red, but it was supposed to be brown because the color scheme of the story, which I can't really explain, you would have to listen to the story to really pick up on it, is brown, green, and yellow. Those are the three colors that are not really like obvious. It becomes more obvious in book 2. So, and I can't fully explain why those colors. They are the colors I ended up choosing, and I ended up basing the story a little bit around that. This is not a story about those three colors. This is a story about someone who's you know how people of like what's Superman's colors? Red and blue. There you go. Spider-Man, red and blue. Certain people have certain colors that you think of when you think of those people. That's kind of what's going on here in the story. But let me show you these illustrations side by side so you can see the difference between a high-res paper versus normal paper. First, I want everyone to see this one of my dedications, which was to Gary Gygax. I wanted to just see what I said. I wanted to make sure I included him in the dedication. I originally didn't say all that I said here. This is my updated words. So just wanted you to see it all. And then next, here is the odd way in which I wrote this book. It's written in the style of a play. So basically you see the name of the person and what they say. Afterwards, there's like a colon after their name. And sometimes I interject in between what they're saying. Like here, I interject. It's always in parentheses. So what they're saying, it comes after their name. What I'm saying will sometimes be in parentheses so that you can distinguish. Now, a couple people said this was awkward to read. I didn't find it awkward to read. I've read it. To edit this book, I read through it 6 times, editing. So I read slowly. That's how hard I had to work to get this edited because I'm not an editor either. So it was not easy to do. I'm trying to find another parentheses thing because that's just one way. All right, well, that took a while to find, but I finally found one place where I have the person's name followed by what they said, followed by me interjecting in parentheses, going back to what they said. So that's how this reads. It took a while to find one like that. I often would say something at the end of what they would say, but sometimes I would interject in the middle and I used parentheses. This is my own writing style that I came up with on my own. I did not get this from anyone. I decided I didn't want to use quotes I wanted to do something unique, and this is what I came up with. Unfortunately, if I ever do rewrite this at some point, and it is possible I will do that for a couple reasons, not just because of the way I wrote it, I will possibly go back to the normal way of writing quotes, or I'll do something else that will hopefully not, as a couple people said, pull the reader out of the narrative. I honestly don't know how this style of writing pulls you out of the narrative. I'm not really sure I understand how does this pull you out of the narrative. But a couple people have said that to me. One guy said, I like the story. I just was struggling to read it the way you wrote it. So I was like, okay, that's all I needed to hear. All right, on to the illustrations. All right, it's not perfect. I think I can hold my hand down here a little bit. So here's the first illustration of the party having dinner in the tavern, discussing where they're going to go adventuring first. And this woman is, her name is Laura. She is in the story, but she has a small part. So that's the high res, and there's the low res picture. It's still nice. It's still nice, but you can see the difference if I put them side by side. So that's the first one. I love this piece. This was a little more expensive. I forget what I paid for it, but quite the drawing, I thought, showing the backs of people. So you see 5 of the 8. There's 8 people in the party. So the fact that you can see 5 in this picture, and the serving wench, Laura. So pretty cool. Oh, and I also like with the fact using color, which is much more expensive, I could use color for the title of each of the chapters, which I also really liked. It's all black and white in the second book because there's no reason for color. It makes it too expensive. All right, so then this is the second one. I'm using this thing to hold that page down so you can see them side by side. This is, as you can see, the sacred shrine. And I did not... she came up with this design, Victoria. I did not have all of this above. I thought it would look beautiful, though. I had this general design, but I love the way she did it. I basically just described it to her, as I've got this shine. There we go. And she came up with it on her own. So very, very cool. All right, and here we have one of the, well, not one of the main characters of the party. This is someone else. This is Dalma. So there's the difference in the image, just much sharper, much. So I'm just so happy that I chose to make this more expensive version, because otherwise I wouldn't have this. And this is so great because I can show it to people. It's very cool. But this still looks really good. So, you know, it's nice. And then we have this great looking monster. And I was amazed that she could do this drawing like this and then do a close-up. It's the same exact image she was able to, because I guess it's digital art, and you can do that with digital art. So this is a very, very cool piece of art. I think this might be her best piece. It's between this one and one other one, which we're getting to. All right, here is Kish. You can see the difference here. Let me just show that side by side. And I can't really zoom in. I guess I can a little bit. But very, very cool. That was a later addition to the book. All right, here's an interesting one, which I did not want to name in the books. I didn't want the reader to know until they got to this part of the book who these two are. So that's why there's no name here. I didn't care that you know the name of Dalma and Kish. That was not a problem. This one I wanted to keep secret, which if you listen to the story or read the book, you will probably figure out why. Oh yes, I had to show you this. I came up with another character named YOLO. And that is, of course, you know what YOLO stands for. Well, that's also the name of a person, and I purposely put his name all in caps. Now in book 2, his name is not all in caps. I forget why I changed it, but I said, oh, I got to name this guy YOLO. This is perfect. So then we have Sheila, and in the first time I wrote this, I mistakenly pointed out who Sheila is in the title up here, and that was a mistake, and I corrected that. I'm like, no, you shouldn't know who and or what Sheila is. But there she is with the 2 images, and I think she looks really good. Love the way she drew this. And again, she just has a description and she comes up with it. And I'm just so pleased with it. And then we turn the page and we see this character named Bale. And again, nothing is said about who or what Bale is, but that's the case with all of the characters in this story. There's no reason to tell you who and what they are. Now, the thing about this character, one, is this could be her best art. She said it was her favorite one to draw of the original 10 that she drew. I can see why. Bale, this character was, my inspiration for this character was from Terry Brooks's book, Magic Kingdom for Sale Sold, a book that I was reading on my channel and close to finishing, and I may finish it at some point, but almost no one's listening, so I've taken a break from it for now. But that character, let me show you, was my inspiration. There he is. That was my inspiration for Bale. This guy is not Bale. They're completely different as far as what they are, but they're similar, obviously. All right, and here we have Latia. Now, the name Latia comes from a character that my now ex-wife played when we were playing D&D. She created a character who she named Latia, and this is pretty much her character altered a little bit. It's not exactly the same, but it's very similar. Now, the great thing about this hair, look at the way she drew this hair. This was not what I told her. I just said Latia was strawberry blonde. And she, not knowing what that meant, just decided to do this. And when I saw it, I went, oh, we'll just go with this. Yeah, this is even better. Oh my God. I love the hair. I love the way she drew her. Everything about this character, even the blood dripping on the sword, is fine. Not necessary, but fine. It's just a really, really great illustration. All right, then we have my YouTube channel's name. Here's Lightmane. Lightmane was originally my character in the World of Warcraft game. I got addicted to that game for a couple of months. Was staying up until 3 a.m. playing the stupid game. And my Lightmane was a human paladin. So I got him all the way up to 30th level. Ooh. But here Lightmane is an elf. So a little different, but I just love the name Lightmane. So he had to be part of the group. Oh, and I was amazed. Like, how did you make that sword? Wow, look at that thing. That's I don't know how she did that. In the story, Lightmane's sword doesn't look like that. It's just a sword. But she decided to draw it that way, and I was like, that looks too cool. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna tell you to change that. It just looked too cool. So here we have someone named Ken Gilgrath. I'm not going to tell you any more about who this is. You will find out if you listen to the story. This is one of my good voices that I came up with for him. I do a little voice acting in book 1. I do more voice acting in book 2 as I'm getting better at it. And then in my short stories that I wrote, I got Sheila's voice down about the way I wanted her to sound. I mean, pretty close. But this was just done beautifully. Everything about how Ken Gilgrath looks. Now, the name is interesting. That comes up in the story. Why is your name Ken Gilgrath? It's pretty interesting. So, well, all their names are explained at one point. So, in the story. Obviously in the story. Where else would they be explained? And here we have Nightwind. And for some reason, Victoria decided I'm going to go, gung-ho on Nightwind's beard. Wow. I looked at that and said, I can't. I'm not going to tell you to change it. It's just wild. I mean, what could I say? When she showed me that, I said, holy moly, that is one heck of a beard. All righty. All right, and here we have Tenneth. I'm not going to say anything about him. The art is really nice. I like the way she drew his hair. It's not like overly done or anything, but it's very cool. There is a reason for the unicorn on his armor. That is significant, and it is thematically accurate with D&D lore too. There are deities in my book in D&D. They are deities from the D&D game, so they are part of the folklore of the game. So I didn't actually. I did make up at least one. Did I make up two or three? I forget how many deities I created. I won't say, but this is something different. I'm going to show you these. Well, let me show you the whole thing. There's the difference between the high res and the normal res. So here we have Shinfia, and this creature is named Shingar. And I will just leave it at that. But as you can see, Shingar is holding a flower. I won't say any more. I love the way Shinfia looks. The way she's looking, with the way she drew her eyes and her face is just perfect. Just perfect. And Shingar just blew my mind and went, oh my God, yeah, that's Shingar. That's even better than I envisioned him. Next up is Jack. Now, Jack is unique in this story. He's the wizard in the party. I will say that. The wizard was originally called magic user, and I should have stuck with magic user, but wizard is more of a generic term that fits in a story. It makes more sense to be called a wizard, so I went with wizard. In D&D, a wizard is not allowed to wear armor or swing a sword. In the original game, you could use a dagger, a dart, or a staff, and that was it. I don't know what 5th edition wizards are like, but the original game, wizards cannot wear armor. Jack is wearing armor. Wizards cannot wield swords. Jack is wielding a short sword. You'll find out early on why that is. I knew that my story wasn't going to work if these characters didn't have some uniqueness about them. Now, this is the most plain one of all of the drawings. Well, this one and the next one. So this is Phileas. And the reason she would put something like this in their hand, you've seen that a couple times, is simply to show that they have magical powers. They can cast magical spells. That's the whole point of that. Everything else is very understated about Phileas. But this is how she drew him. He is a gnome in the party. Nightwind was a dwarf. Here's your gnome. And on the very next page, we have Genevieve. Genevieve was named after someone I knew whose name was Genevieve. She has since passed away. She was in her 90s when I wrote this book. She was a lifelong family friend of my parents. So it was kind of my tribute to her. Was she still alive when I wrote this? I don't remember. I think she had already passed away. She lived to be like 95. Now, Genevieve is drawn oddly. Notice the little feet, but she is also a gnome. And notice you can't see the rest of her hands. Well, they're just behind her back. She made it was a lot easier for her to do it this way. She could focus on other things. And hands are not her, I would say hands are not her strong point. And I think that might be part of the reason she did it. I think also she wanted to really accent the rest of the illustration, and I think everything here looks just beautiful. All right, okay, and then here is Belfin, and this is a halfling. Again, this is a very understated illustration. Not a lot to it, but I like the simplicity of it. And there was no reason to do anything else. Let me just zoom in so you can see how she did all of that. It's just really, really cool. It didn't need to be more than that. I like that some of these are understated. And here, towards the back of the book, what are we up to? Page 506, we have Raisha. Raisha is a wild-looking illustration. Absolutely love how she drew her. I'll zoom in so you can see her more up close. Very, very cool the way she did this. I didn't give her these colors. She chose them. And I just gave a basic description. She decided how to make her look, how to make her hair look. This is all Victoria. I did say, I think I said she has this staff, and this is how she decided to draw it, and I wasn't going to change a thing. Raisha looks amazing. All right, and here we have Sheila's armor, crossbow, and sword. Love the way she drew all three of these items. And then we have, I'll show you let me show you the low res version. It still looks very, very nice. And then I have this drawing that I made like 20 years ago. I just drew this on my own. This is the village of Duran where the story begins. This is the entire village. Every hex, I believe, was 40 feet. So that's a good approximation of what the village looks like. It's a village inside a forest. So it's all forest out here as well. Everything's forest. And there's the low-res version of it. And you can see that's a river running through it. And these are just sections. I'm just sectioning off. Those lines aren't actually there. That's just for the purposes of the map. Everything is sectioned. That's why you'll see like number 2 here, and then you'll see number 2 there. So in each section is numbered from 1 to whatever. I'm very, very pleased with the village. And lastly, the world of Forestera. 1 square equals 20 miles. There's the high-res version. There's the low-res version. Not much difference. I did this with colored pencils like 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Includes the, what do you call that? The listing of, this is for the village. Every town, remember how it's all the, let me show you again. So everything's numbered in each section. Those are the sections, and that's what's in each section. So I've included that in the book so that people could see, even though most of the stuff is not mentioned at all in the story. And there's the other page of it. So that's my book. I hope you will take a look at it on Amazon. You can read on Amazon some of the stuff about the story. There's also a sample read on Amazon. There is no Audible, but I narrated the entire thing. So I hope you will check out at least my first video. I will put the link to my narration of both books, books 1 and books 2, in the description below. Give a listen to the first one, and you will know at that point if this is something that interests you, if this is something you'd like to listen to again. If you are a fan of Dungeons & Dragons, I can't imagine how you would not really enjoy listening to this. It reads just like a D&D campaign. It's a story of 8 people who go adventuring like you're playing D&D, but it's from their perspective, there is no player. They don't have players playing them. These are the characters as though they are real people, and that this is a real world, and this is all actually happening. So that's the concept of what I was doing here. I was trying to create D&D in story form. I feel that I succeeded. Whether I rewrite it at any point remains to be seen. Whether I ever write books 3, 4, and 5 remains to be seen. I hope so, but it's hard to write when you don't have the motivation, and I don't know. Somehow I got the motivation for book 2. I've talked about that in the past, and glad I found that motivation and wrote it. Ren had a lot to do with that. If you don't know who Ren is, just look him up on YouTube. He's amazing. He's an artist, singer, rapper, songwriter, musician. He does it all. All right. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye.